Angular at its heart is all about a concept called data binding and model view controller. So a model view controller is actually quite simple. We have a model which is defined by JavaScript variables and their values, essentially the data associated with our application. And we have a view which is the HTML itself, which is a visual representation of that data. And then we have controllers, which are snippets of JavaScript code which orchestrate between the view, our HTML, and the model, the data. ng-init is a directive in Angular which allows us to change the values of JavaScript variables from the HTML itself. So it allows us to change the model from the view. I'm setting the property of title on an object called app to the value of moo. Why I'm using app.title instead of just title is equal to moo we'll cover in another lecture called Scope Inheritance and the dot notation. Now I want the title of the app to not be awesome app, but I want it to match the value of app.title. There's a couple of ways to do this in Angular. One is with the curly braces syntax. So you can see on the right hand side, the title has now changed to moo, the same as our app.title. What you've just seen is an example of data binding. Data binding is linking part of the view, part of the HTML, with a model. For, in our case, it's app.title. Another way to perform data binding is to use the ng-bind directive. Something to note is the ng-bind directive doesn't use the curly braces syntax. As well as just rendering the values of models to our view, to our HTML, using the binding syntax, we can also change the values of models by linking them to input controls. So I've just pasted in an input control, and this input control has another directive called ng-model. And the value of ng-model is the same as our value that we're binding to, the app.title. Now when I change the value of title in the input control, Angular detects the change in the model and automatically updates its data bindings. That's what's so cool about Angular, and that's what's so cool about data bindings, is it all happens automatically. If we were doing this in perhaps core jQuery or even in Backbone, we'd have to write the code ourselves which listens to change events, and then we'd have to write the code which updates the view with the new values. With Angular, it happens all automatically.